Namaste ji, namaste. Welcome to Courtroom by TLOI. So NLSAT 2026 is just a few days away, and you need to be generally aware about certain topics that I'm going to give out to you. You need to prepare your essays on these topics, and you can expect a few of these topics, of course not all, to pop up in part A as a passage. So if you have already understood conceptually these topics beforehand, it will be, or rather it will prove very helpful to you in the examination. This is of course, probability based. So not everything is going to get asked because they do give a lot of fictional and abstract passages in part A, as you already know. So we are going to start out with a few things. Please just go through these topics, and so for example we'll start out first with Karnataka and the proposed social media ban. Read up on it, the origins from Australia, under 16 social media ban. What are the benefits? Are you for it? Are you against it? Can there be an alternate solution that can be found? So this can be an essay prompt that you may just see popping up because, well, you're targeting a Karnataka based university here, and locally the local current affairs, especially the state based current affairs, the prominent ones, become relevant, right? Then the second topic that you can look up is the government ordering these tweets to be taken down, the IT amendment rules, basically the crackdown on social media posts. That is almost always a generic theme that you can focus on NLSAT perpetually. Other generic themes also include one nation, one election, already asked I think in one of the question papers before. Secularism, the collegium issue, they are generic, they are everlasting, they are static, I would say. Then please explore the Sanchar Sathi app issue that basically took place I think last year. The gig worker economy, that was a major issue. Raghav Chadda also took it up in the Rajya Sabha. It made a lot of noise on social media around the 31st of December ka mark. So be privy about what is the gig economy, what is the issue basically. And Noida mein abhi right now the laborers are protesting, and it's basically a lot of issues are going on the wages, etc. I believe now, since the question paper is locked now, so directly that cannot be asked. If it had happened, let us say in February, it would have become a really hot topic. So kindly please go through the issue of gig workers and gig economy basically. Then there was an indigo crisis also, but I believe you can very safely skip that because that happened in December basically. You can skip that. Gig economy we have covered. You can also look up the US Venezuela episode that happened and international law's effectiveness, the effectiveness of international law with respect to what the United States, the hegemony of the United States on international, on the international global stage. Then the caste census, because we are very close to the caste census. So you can read up on that issue. It will serve you most likely well in the examination. Then the UGC equity guidelines. I mean, that's an extremely hot topic. Are you for it? Are you against it? Read up on the issue, read up on it inside and out, because if they give you a passage in part A, they will surely ask some general awareness, as they call it, static GK based questions in the exam. So for example, when were the UGC guidelines initially enacted? Stuff such as that. Then the Galgotia episode that happened at the AI summit, right? What sort of an impact did it create for India, and what is basically about the original innovation that we lack perhaps as a country. So that can be an issue. Then the next issue is the 3-year practice clause in the judicial services exams. You just need to be privy to this fact because NLS Bangalore has publicly opposed it in the Supreme Court of India. So are you for it? Are you against it? You can just read up on it. Might ask, might show up, might not show up. That is basically up to them. I'm giving you a list so that it helps you out. And because we did not offer the mock series outside of our batches this year, to focus on a lot of personalized feedback, because then the workload gets up. These are pretty much the topics that were asked in our mocks as well. And aloneness is a topic. Remember the penguin, that Japanese monkey? Aloneness in the times of social media. That can be a topic. Please read up on that, because this is, this basically was a very, very hot topic, right? And that's it from here. I'm basically looking at and discarding giving you only the filtered out bits. You can go on the internet, go to the Hindu, the Indian Express, and basically do your research on these topics. Please keep on noting these down. Then this year specifically, a lot of these underage car drivers were hell-bent on killing people. These cases made a lot of noise over the last 1 year. So kindly do explore this issue. When I say explore this issue, then you need to have a position on the issue. That if they ask you something like, should guardians be held criminally liable for the fatalities caused by minor children under their supervision, you need to have a position on this, right? All right. And UGC equity guidelines we've discussed. The NCERT issue. The NCERT issue is basically most likely going to show up, right? So the NCERT issue and the Supreme Court's very arbitrary going after the 3 academicians that are there, and the chapter title corruption in Judiciary, that can also be an issue. Right to recall. Right to recall, there is already, there's already a case going on in Karnataka in terms of right to recall. So kindly know what right to recall is. If they ask you a very specific essay on the right to recall, you need to be privy to the issue. Then comes in nuclear sovereignty. So we just recently, there was this very hot current affair which will most likely pop up in CLAT and AILT later this year, is the first nuclear breeder reactor, right? So the country's independence from relying on external sources or other nations for its nuclear energy. So does the pursuit of nuclear sovereignty offer a nation genuine security, or is it an inherent violation of global humanitarian principles? And that can be an issue, right? Then, of course, Karnataka social media ban. That is almost always an issue. Well, as in, it is going to be an issue here, at least in this edition of the exam. And freebies are always in vogue, I would say. A discussion on freebies and the revdi culture that we have in the country. Then you can explore transgender identity, that the recent amendment that happened, what are the issues regarding the bill, what are its pros, what are its cons. Essay or a party prompt, party passage can definitely come up. A paid menstrual leave policy, extremely hot topic for this year. You need to understand that. Chiraiya, the web series, so for example, the issue on marital rape, you just need to look at for that. Passive euthanasia, upholding the right to dignity, Harish Rana case. Read up on the history, geography of euthanasia, because these are extremely hot topics, right? May show up, might not show up, but there is no way that you can attempt the exam without having gone through these. And then reservations, and the very recent Supreme Court judgment on how the caste-based benefits, for example, reservation-based benefits will not extend to you, or any benefits that you are getting will not extend to you post your conversion to another religion. So they will certainly not be asking you anything about the judgment, but you need to understand the issue. And if you can mention the judgment, then of course if it shows up in the essay, then your essay really becomes a powerful one, right? Then women in combat roles, right? Recently again. So this is all linked to, because remember, you are going to be taking the NLSAT 3-year LLB. So this is going to be a very, very law-oriented, topics. They always want you to be aware of what is going on. That doesn't mean that you start rote learning the name of judgments and you start reading judgments. That's not required at all. But you need to understand the issue. You need to be privy to the issue. So you need to be generally aware in a very peculiar way, specifically for the NLSAT, because that is where this examination really demands a very specific kind of prep that it's unlike any other 3-year law entrance in the country. And yeah, that's about it. That's it. Let me look at my last bit of notes here. Sabrimala verdict, because this was 1st of April, the hearing is going on. So Sabrimala review, I would say. Understand the issue. So you can go, there is a specific playlist on this channel called Legally Explained. Kindly do explore that, wherein I keep on explaining all of these issues. So there is this Arvind Kejriwal pe video hai wahan pe on the discharge that happened, on the Sabrimala issue is there, dissent by Justice Indu Malhotra ki I have discussed those issues. I teach for the judicial services exams as well, so we are neck deep mostly into law almost all the time. But those issues then get diluted and basically they migrate over to the NLSAT in a very specific format, is that you need not know the peculiarities of law, but you need to know the legal issue that is there, right? So you can explore that playlist. It has the discussion on Nithari, it has a discussion on the Unnao case. They're not going to be basically popping up in the exam. But if you have a conceptual understanding, it almost always helps in writing it better. So you can explore that playlist if you so wish. Then women reservation. Women reservation. So is a mandatory quota for women a necessary tool to break social barriers? Or does it undermine merit and create a system of proxy representation? Stuff such as this. So all of these issues basically, like I'll give you an example of the Sabrimala. So should the judiciary have the power to force changes in religious traditions, or should reform be left entirely to the community of believers? So Sabrimala judgment is not going to pop up directly. This is how basically the NLSAT does it, right? And then basically anything related to Dhurandhar, but on the very critical side of it, right? So should the primary role of cinema to be foster for social harmony, or to serve as an unfiltered platform for contested historical truths? You can read up editorials. I think Parashuraman, that's one author, basically has written 2 very scathing reviews of Dhurandhar, and you can read up those. I mean, I have nothing against the movie, by the way. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but from the exam point of view, you need to develop a skill that in which you can criticize, or perhaps the issue. Like for example, how was perhaps Notbandi whitewashed? The demonetization was whitewashed via this movie, or it can be propaganda as well. Who knows? Or is it just pure entertainment? Right? Freedom of speech and expression is almost always a standard issue now. Well, you can relate it to Kunal Kamra. Last year also the Ranveer Alabadhya issue was quite hot. Mrs. the movie was quite in vogue last year. So all of these hot trends, I've told you pretty much, everything that you need to know. So you have, today is Thursday, next Sunday is the NLSAT 2026. So 3 days this week, 6 days. So about 9 odd days. Do your research, do the reading, and frame your essays. Read up on all of these issues. You need to be very well aware of the train that is headed towards you, so that you can perhaps do justice to your attempt. I hope this has been of help to you. I wish you all the very best with your attempt. May God bless you always. Take care. Bye.